stars lean down to kiss you, and I lie awake and miss.
I think communication technology is anything that enables me to stay in contact with someone when I'm not like face to face with them, like the iPad, computers, my cell
Communication
phone.
technology to me is all the potential devices that can facilitate how we interact or share information. So it can be something like Skype, where it's a face-to-face kind of exchange. It can be texting. Doesn't have to involve all the possible media, but the techniques that will help us in some way either actually work at that creation of shared meaning or simply share information.
It's been said and done.
I use Skype to talk to my mom occasionally, cell phone to talk to friends, even though I see them every day, which I think is kind of weird. I use Facebook to also talk to my mother and other family
Everyday
members.
computer, of course, I can't live without it. I am addicted to my BlackBerry. A lot of the time that's email or texting. I find that there are a few very close friends that I keep up with almost daily, just with a quick text. You know, how was your day? This is what happened. You know, a few times throughout the day. Those are my primary technologies.
When I was young, I didn't have a MySpace or Facebook, so as I got older, I just used them a lot more, and now I use them more often than I should. So it just helps. I'm just more connected now than I was as a child.
We didn't have computers when I was young, and our form of communication was a landline phone, which usually meant you had a party line and anyone could listen to your conversation.
Communication technology, man, when I was young, back when we wrote on stone slabs, let's see, telephone was probably the long-distance communication, you know, non-face-to-face. When I was young, computers didn't exist from a personal basis, and so it really was that kind of device. Video cameras, rich people maybe had video cameras. It wasn't a common household thing. Cameras, of course, in terms of still pictures, were only delayed sequences, and so there wasn't much communication technology when I was young. And then I think over time, even the use, when I used to coach speech and debate at the University of North Dakota, 25, 30 years ago, I started using a handheld tape recorder to record ideas about debate cases and advantages or disadvantages while we were driving. I think I've probably become even more compulsive about connectivity. My routine, regardless of what time I get home, if I'm there on a weekend, I have my cell phone next to me, and I have, of course, the different pings for, is it an email, is it a text message, you know, is it Facebook? And so I know, and I find myself, even if I'm reading, grading papers, whatever else, I'm reaching for that phone based on, it's like Pavlov's dog. You know, here's the signal. I'm going for that phone because, and I don't always read the email, and I don't even always read the text, but I always look, who's it from? And so in some cases, like, okay, it's work, I'm not going to deal with it, it's Saturday morning. And I find myself, even when I'm on the road, for instance, I used to travel with a travel alarm. Nobody knows what a travel alarm is anymore because everybody uses their cell phone. I'll be in bed in a motel or hotel, you know, at a conference or whatever. I'll have my cell phone with the alarm set, and I'll be sort of like powering out. I'm not quite asleep yet, and there's a ping. It's like, I can't not just know who it's from. I might not read it, but I have to know who it's from. And so, I mean, it's just totally infused in how I function on a day-to-day basis.
I think it's gotten better in terms of staying connected with people you probably wouldn't before communication technology. Like, I have a friend from high school. If we didn't have communication technology, we wouldn't talk at all, but now we talk pretty occasionally because of that. But I feel like face-to-face communication has gotten worse because we don't have as much developed skills of face-to-face interactions due to always being on social media technologies?
I think communication actually has gotten worse. I think we share more information, and the hazard of the technology is so much of the technology is text-based. And with that, you don't have any of the nonverbal communication, and you have such a great potential for error of message understanding because of the language that's used. And so how I use a word or intend the meaning of a word may not be how the recipient of that message gets that meaning. And so I think on balance, it has not improved our communication. The one possible exception to that is something like the technology of Skype, and I know that there are other things like Skype, where you actually have that sense of face-to-face connectivity via technology. And so you can actually have that better exchanging of information in ways that otherwise wouldn't be possible face-to-face. Thinking, for instance, like my nieces who live in Colorado, I can see them face-to-face on Skype, but because of, the 11, 12-hour drive, I'm not going to see them very often. Truly face-to-face.
Better is you can communicate with family and friends and keep in touch.
I wouldn't want to be anybody else. Hey.
In that, with the technology comes an advantage or an advancement that really has the potential to do really good things for us. Thinking about the Stephen Jobs just dying kind of thing and what he did with the iPad, iPhone, that kind of stuff. The advances that it provides are really good. But I think it's true, and I think there are multiple places in history where you can see an advancement always causes a compromise of something else. And that compromise might be a good thing, but oftentimes that compromise presents a challenge.